Fernanda, such a pleasure to welcome you. I am just thrilled. I have to brag about you in this introduction because you
Mm.
are just absolutely stellar. To start with, Fernanda has 366,000 followers on IG and 1.1 million followers on TikTok. I mean, the engagement that you create is just so powerful. I'm just so thankful. And Fernanda and I were talking about how active she's been lately and how proud she is of being Latina and how powerful she is when she, highlights and defends even sometimes, our community. And that's just so lovely to see. Such a beautiful young woman, so smart, putting her power in favor of those that deserve it and need it. So that's amazing. So all those followers, for everybody to know, are being used in the right way and are being, I say, educated by Fernanda. One thing that I really love is this fact that her favorite subject at school was history, because that's what got her started. And so for all of those you nerds that are out there, it's good to love history, and it can give you an incredible professional career as it has given it to Fernanda. And of course, I've seen you since you started highlighting all these people that are a pride for our community. And also, you don't limit yourself to people that are alive today. Sometimes you bring a lot of history into it. I thought I learned a lot. I knew a lot, and I do. But you have expanded this for me, and I can name 3 or 4 things that I didn't know that I've learned from you, and now I promote. So I'm your follower,
Thank
and you're influencing me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that.
thank you. Thank you for your kind words.
Of course. And then Fernanda is, again, I'm going to give all these facts, so beware because they're really interesting. Fernanda is originally from Guadalajara, Jalisco. And Guadalajara is actually is the second most important city in Mexico. It's gorgeous. People there are really, really fabulous. And we have a lot of great people from Guadalajara in the United States that have succeeded wildly, one of them being Fernanda. And then it's so interesting because his first viral videos were on Latina idols. And so, highlighting others just brought her fame. So that's one lesson that I want everybody to know, that within our community, we need to start pushing and promoting others, because every time we promote somebody, we promote ourselves up. And so I think that is a very good example of what we need. We all have to work on, which is, promoting others within our community so that we promote ourselves. It's like espuma, it's like foam. The more you give, the more you go up and up and up and up. And I think that's an example that you live every day, Fernanda. She also is, it's interesting because your journey took off on March 2020, which is exactly when the pandemic started. And interesting enough, it's so funny, again, making a lemonade out of lemons, right? With your TikTok, favorite Hispanic songs from my childhood. And they went viral. Oh my God. I'm thinking about the songs. Please, do you have, so which one was favorite? And I'll tell you if it's my generation, because it's kind of different generations, but it's a tradition that continues constantly, right?
I feel like, okay, I don't remember exactly all the songs I posted, but the first one I remember is Mi Niña Bonita by the Cumbia
Ay,
Kings.
claro.
That's
I
it.
love it.
I love that
Did
song.
you have a la víbora, víbora de la mar, de la mar? Or is that
No.
my generation?
I think it's our generation.
It's mine. Okay. I grew up with that and I loved it. It was actually a game. Where, it was like a little bridge, and then people would have to go, under it, and it was really good. But anyway, okay. But that video was her first viral, since she's had many more. But going back to how do your Latina heritage helps, right? It just, all these traditions and your cultural pride made you viral for the first time. So
Yeah.
that was really amazing. I'm going to give a little personal data here. So on February of 2024, Fernanda got engaged, you guys. That is like she grows professionally and she grows personally. That's a good balance. That's a good balance that you pursue. And that's really, really great. Not only has Fernanda a bachelor's degree from Phoenix, but she also has a dog named Luna, enjoys traveling, music, spending time with her family. And on the professional side, she's been featured on the Drew Barrymore show. I'm sorry, Drew Barrymore, English as second language. Be patient with me. Drew Barrymore show, Ryan Seacrest Productions, and Univision, of course. Good Morning America. And then she's collaborated with a lot of different brands. Amongst them, Chevrolet, Apple TV, Universal Pictures, Warner Brothers, AT&T, TikTok, and many more. I am so proud of welcoming you, Fernanda. It's really an honor. For those in the audience that haven't heard it before, tell us a little bit about how did you start? How did you come up with the idea of your social media project? You know that there are many people that say, especially very younger people that say, oh, that's what I'm going to do when I'm older. I'm going to be an influencer, and that's how I'm going to make my living. Tell us a little bit of like what it entails, because I'm sure it's not that easy.
No, for me, it was never a dream or a goal or an aspiration. It was actually completely by accident. I started posting, like we brought up earlier, during the COVID pandemic. And like I've always been a history nerd. I was always that kid that would watch all the documentaries on the History Channel. And so I just started posting little history tidbits that I knew about Latino history, about Mexican history, as a way to just pass time. My school shut down, my job shut down, and it was just something fun for me to do. And they took off little by little, and now it's been my career for the past 5 years. So it was completely by accident. Yeah.
So you're the true influencer, right? The one that lives the life and then, people want to follow. It's not like you didn't try to be it. You just became one because people liked you and they wanted to be, in touch with you. Yeah. That's the organic influencer, which is the true one, which I don't doubt it, because as I tell you, I've been your follower since you started. So yes, no, I love it. That's really, really nice. Okay. So before you started making content, because some of them were just completely spontaneous, etc. Did you feel we Latinos were being seen? Do you feel that we were represented? Did you feel you could get the content you wanted to see organically? Or, was that one of the reasons why you said, you know what, let's start promoting this fact because nobody's doing it?
Yeah, I think when it comes to maybe the storytelling aspect and the history aspect, I wasn't seeing a lot of the Latino culture and a lot of Latino history being talked about. So that's also motivated me to start posting it. I think when it comes from maybe an influencer aspect or a career aspect, I think there were a group of Latino influencers and creators that I followed. But I think in the last 5 years, I think the space has gotten so much more diverse, and there are so many more diverse voices out there that have big platforms. So I think that's been such a great thing that's changed in the last 5 years.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And, as you know, we are a think tank and we produce reports. And one of the reports that we produced is the media report. We call it the media report, but it's basically Hollywood, right? And we find that there is not enough content in traditional media. And since we've been measuring it for 8 years, but since, about 2 or 3 years ago, the industry actually has been falling. And of course, we can say it's, the COVID and it's the strike that, Hollywood, was suffering through. But at the same time, another area was emerging, which is your area, right? As content creators were not working in traditional media, which is TV shows and film, all this, audiences were going to YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and all these places where you are actually a star. And so when people say today that, media is going down, that's not true. Media is just changing, right? The content was not satisfying people,
Hmm.
obviously, and they were looking for other outlets, and they found you. They found you, and they found all these other influencers. And so that's really important because you guys are providing a service. This is not a coincidence. This is not just because you're very cute and you're really smart. Yes, that has to do with it. But it is because you're providing a service for all these thousands and millions of people that just didn't have the content that they were looking for. They
Yeah.
couldn't find it in traditional media. And so that's absolutely, one merit to you guys, because it's a little bit of what happened with music about 20 years ago, that Pandora and Spotify and Apple Music allowed, through their platforms to, content creators, right? Musicians that
Yeah.
just became huge without marketing
Yeah.
of big record labels. And that's what you're doing. I mean,
Yeah.
when did you realize you were doing that? Like when did you actually say, you know what, we're actually providing a service that traditional media is not providing?
I think it didn't really hit me until I would say about a year in, because for such like, because when I got started, I was in college, so I was doing as a fun side hustle sort of
Yeah.
sort of thing. And I think when I started dedicating myself to it fully is I realized the power that social media and that content creators really had,
Yeah.
as opposed to how it was before, where it was people would just maybe after work sit down and watch a few videos. It became media that people were constantly consuming. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And that you were satisfying. Another report that we have that we did about young people with a group called Kantar, who's the largest research company in the world in terms of consumer products, so brands, right?
Hmm.
So we found that 76% of young people, from between the ages of 12 to 34 years old, reported that they didn't feel seen.
Yeah.
And so specifically in the case of Latino youth, this number goes even higher. And they were saying, we pay for the products, we buy the products, our parents buy a lot of products, and we never see anybody that looks like us or that tells us stories. And so imagine what you're doing already, Fernanda, and what you can do even more when brands now brands, ads, the dollars of ads
Hmm.
are moving towards you. So Hollywood is not only losing audiences, they're also losing dollars.
Hmm.
And you guys are providing the service that brands needed, because brands need to get to the population that is buying. And we are 20 to 25% of all the consumption.
Yeah.
So if they were missing 20 to 25 of that consumption in traditional Hollywood, of course they're going to be investing in you, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and that's how I'm sure you actually, made of this your profession, by knowing that brands actually are looking for you and your audience.
Yeah. 100%. And I think maybe from the Hollywood perspective, I think a lot of viewers complained about authenticity. And it's something that, we're probably going to bring up a lot. But, there's the stereotypes in movies, or when it feels like they're trying to pander to Latino audiences too much and it doesn't feel real. Whereas when you're looking at content creation, this is just who we are. And people can feel more connected to everyday people that they can see on their phones or on their computer screens, as opposed to something that doesn't feel like they can relate, you know? Yeah.
Exactly. Wow,
Yeah.
that's why you have such followers. Because authenticity is the
Yeah.
key, right?
Yeah.
And the interesting thing, Fernanda, and you know this very well, but I don't know if the audience knows, that your authenticity crosses over to other communities. Because, being authentic is a quality. So you can be Latina or you can be anything else. If you're an authentic, whatever you are,
Yeah.
you cross over, and that's how your success comes. I mean, I don't know if you have a way of knowing your audience, but I am completely sure that people follow you independently of of their of where they come from, and that's
Yeah.
important. And already I know this because of the comments on your videos in terms of country where they come from. So I noticed that when you make videos in Spanish, you have followers from all around Latin America and Spain.
Yep. Yep. And I even have people who aren't Hispanic or Latino. The other day I got a comment from someone who was like, "This gringo loves your content." So,
Yes, exactly.
So,
I can tell there must be a lot of gringos in love.
yeah. Oh no.
I don't know if you have you seen that it's a lot of different content creators that are gringos that have Latino girlfriends or Latino wives, and
Yes,
they are
yes.
adorable because
Yeah.
they're like madly in love with
Yes.
like Latino world.
Yes. One of my close friends actually, Johnny Morales, his wife is not Latina, and his whole content is about teaching her about the culture. Like he had a video of his wife going to his mom's house and learning how to make food, and she was like, "Mm, pisquito de sal," and she was like, "How much salt? I don't know."
Exactly.
Yeah, so I love all that content. It's so
I
cute.
do, I do. There's this guy, and I totally am spacing the name, but this gringo that says like like the wife gives him hamburgers, and he goes like, no, there's no way that I will eat a hamburger. I need my tacos and I need my quesadillas. And if the wife refuses, he's like, okay, I'm leaving. I'm going to my suegra's house. It's like he's just
Yeah,
so like adamant about it, and it's
yeah.
adorable. So I totally know that you cross over,
Hmm.
because this not only for the comments, but because it's logical and people like authenticity, and you're extremely authentic, and that is really an incredible quality. But um, okay, so we talked a little bit about brands, and we'll go back to it. But I want you to tell us, because your brand and your authenticity has a lot to do with your pride.
Hmm.
And so you probably, with your personality, you could talk about a lot of different things. And of course, history is part of it. But I think that what permeates everything that you do is how important it is for you to be Latina and to stand up for Latinos.
Hmm.
And so tell me, how important is your Latina activism, and how does it affect and impact your content?
Yeah, it's very important to me. Like we touched on earlier, I'm an immigrant to this country. Y la vida de un inmigrante es muy difícil. And it's something that I feel like I have to talk about a lot because it's things that affect me personally, my family personally, my community personally. There's like quote, I don't know if you watched the movie Blue Beetle, but there's a quote that really stuck with me where he says, you think crossing borders is hard? Yes, that's hard, but what's actually hard is the next 20 years.
Oh my goodness,
Hmm.
that's really
And
powerful.
that really stuck with me, and that I try to bring attention to that. Being an immigrant, you don't just come here and have life handed to you. You actually have all the odds stacked against you, especially with everything happening now. So that's really the perspective that I try to provide to
Yeah.
my content, because that's my story. I think that was the most being an immigrant, I think, was the most formative event of my life. So
Yeah.
I yes, that's the perspective I try to provide.
So
Yeah.
were you one of those translator kids?
No, but I had a translator. Or I remember my first day of school, I didn't speak English. And I there was this little girl who came up to me. She was bilingual and she was like my little interpreter, helping me make friends and
Oh, how
translating the
lucky were you?
homework. Yeah, really lucky. And we still keep in touch to this day. So
Oh,
it's really
that's
sweet.
nice. I hope she listens this and
Yeah,
knows that
I'll
you
send
are
it to her.
honoring. Yes, yes, that you're
Uh-huh.
honoring, what she did
Hmm.
for you. Because we all need translators.
Yes.
And either whether it's, language or cultural, we all need it, especially if we were exactly as, Blue Beetle was saying, right?
Hmm.
Those 20 years, whether you came here as a baby or you came here as an adult, those 20 years are hard, man. I mean, I thought I knew everything, and then I moved here and I was like, wow,
Hmm.
I am a baby.
Yeah.
It's
It's yeah,
honestly
it's
that.
it's the whole culture shock, having to relearn a way of life because life here is lived completely differently than it was in our home country. Trying to, put food on the table, everything. It's complete. Your whole life changes completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
And imagine all the people that see you talking about this publicly and for millions of people where where you actually are you validate them. You make them not feel lonely and alone, right? All these people that are saying, I'm having a hard time. It's really hard. Oh, Fernanda did it, and look where she is. I mean, we want to be her. It's this mentorship, this without even being mentorship, but this example, this role modeling that you do. So that's why I think that's another one of the very important parts of everything that you do. That's that I'm just in no.
Thank you.
Tell me, so one of the things that we notice in one of our, I'm the nerd, so I'm going to bring reports left and right, but
Yeah.
one of our reports says that this new generation of Latinos is much more outspoken.
Yes.
My generation was calladita que te ves más bonita, right? So, but you are like, do you agree with me and with the numbers that say that, your generation is saying, no, I'm proud of who I am. I'm 200%. I am super proud of being an American. I'm super proud of being a Mexican or any other, country where you came from. And I'm going to be that.
Yeah, 100%. I think maybe that stems from a lot of things. I think maybe the older generation that immigrated here, that lived here, was taught to assimilate, perhaps,
Yep.
and taught to give up their culture and leave that behind. And I think that this new generation doesn't want to do that. This new generation wants to embrace both sides. And I think that's wonderful. I love that. That's what my whole content and my career is all about. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're right. There are a lot of reasons, but I think the reason for you guys to be much more outspoken is that you're much stronger.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
some of you were born here already. Most of you speak perfect English. Other than the fabulous dreamers, most of you have a citizenship. And that is amazing because you have all the good things that your parents, inherited you,
Yeah.
in terms of being an immigrant, which by definition, it's a very powerful person. So you are very powerful because of the experience of your parents and what you lived with them. But you also have all the tools, right?
Yeah.
You have the English language. You're going to college. Most of us are first generation. And so that is just this big motivation with this love for the community and also the commitment to make your parents' sacrifices, worth
Yep.
it. Do you feel
100%.
that? Do you feel that combination?
Yeah, 100%. I think our families have gone through a lot. And I think the younger generation sees that and sees that as motivation because maybe we sacrificed a lot and we didn't get much in return. So I think this younger generation wants to say, hey, we've been fighting for this long. We contribute to this country X amount, this much. And I know that that's what you're all about as well. And I think that that's why we're so outspoken because we recognize our value as Latinos.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I want to clap when he says that because it's that part exactly. It's you recognize your value and not that we didn't, but we were intimidated and it
Yeah.
was really hard. It
Yeah.
was those 20 years that you're talking about
Yeah.
that, Blue Beetle was saying, it was hard. I mean, I remember, I tell you, my husband, teachers hit him when he spoke Spanish. So it was all about hiding, right? It was all about, maybe not hiding, assimilating, they called
Yeah.
it. So it was about like, no, you need to be an American. You need to be like
Yeah.
completely the same as everybody. You guys are you guys are proud of your differences. You guys are actually showing off. Your friends want to learn Spanish. You're proud of teaching your friends how to cook Mexican food.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
amazing power that you guys have.
Yeah. And I think maybe our parents' fear is kind of what motivates us because we see all that they achieved and we're like, you shouldn't be afraid. You should be proud of what you did.
Yes.
I think that's a big motivator too. Yeah.
I agree. I always say that there's no better motivator than trying to make the sacrifices worth it of the people that you love the most, right? Which is your parents. And you saw them doing them. I've mentioned this example so many times, so please bear with me. But When a kid graduates, from a non-Latino family, and they just are so happy and excited about them, and they get their diploma, and then they do selfies saying, "Hey, I graduated, I'm powerful, I'm strong," and all that amazing things, which is great. But Latino kids, they just get off on the stage, they get their diploma, they get off the stage, they look around for their parents, they run to their parents, they give them their hats, their coats, and everything, and then they cry all together, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
All those
here it
videos
is.
that always come out during graduation season of them putting like their caps and oh, their regalia on their parents. Cry.
I cry with all of them, Fernanda, with each one of them. Last year we did, and we should do it this year too. We did like a whole initiative about like how Latino kids react. But imagine, first of all, the love, right?
Yeah.
So our parents are not, well, or me as a parent, are not perfect, but there is this love, and there is this commitment, and there is this recognition when
Yeah.
people say that and do that. And you see, and I want to cry when I talk about it, but you see the parents, especially the fathers, like
Yeah.
crying and cry. I want to cry when I talk about it, because
Yeah.
they just cry and cry and cry and cry, and it's like, probably I try to read their mind, and I feel like they saying, what I will never have. Oh my God, I want to cry. But
Yeah.
I was able to give to my kids, right?
Exactly. And I think a lot of that is when they see their kids, graduating and with the diploma, it makes them realize like it was worth it.
Exactly.
Everything we went through, everything. I'm gonna cry too. Are we gonna
Right? I was in the podcast of Becky G, and we had to stop because he was crying so much when we talked about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I tell you,
Yeah.
it's this beautiful kind of, it's almost like the ceremony where everything is recognized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just so, so special. I love it. I'm just grateful that we can understand it, and we can live it, and be, and make it part of us. Not all communities can do it. Most communities don't. But we don't take it for granted. Neither the parents nor the kids take it for granted.
Exactly. Yeah.
They honor it, and they are very excited and proud of it. Okay, so now let's go to your business leadership. And you are a smart and ambitious woman, and you have a business, right? Tell us about it. Tell us how you combine all these different aspects in your life.
I think, man, I think I just try to be really intentional. Um, I've learned that I don't have to sacrifice professional growth with personal joy. I think, and part of that comes with being intentional with how I spend my time, who I have in my life, friends, family, partner included. I surround myself with people who respect what I do and who support me. I was really I say the word intentional a lot, but I was really intentional in, for example, choosing a partner. It was really important for me to have someone who cheered me on. He's my number one cheerleader at everything I do, but also valued how close knit my family are and how important my culture is to me. He's also Mexican, and we've already had conversations about how important it is for us to conserve our culture as we move forward and build our life and one day a family. One day.
It's only one day. You're too young.
One day. So yeah, I just and I've also learned to just not be too hard on myself. Do everything with grace, give myself grace, allow myself to make mistakes. And I've learned in your professional career, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And I've sure made a lot of them, learning curves, but to learn that it's okay and to not be ashamed of our mistakes, but to just learn from them. And to just take it a little bit at a time, grow at my own pace.
Yep. And for those of you that haven't seen Fernanda in person, talking about grace, I think if I had to describe Fernanda, she has so many qualities, and they're so obvious in every one of her posts. But she has so much grace. You really are. And I wouldn't even say it's only classy. I think you just have grace. You are classy within the grace, but you are much more than classy. You are, you're kind and you're smart and you do your own pace and, and you're authentic. And so, with all of that, I would say that the perfect word to encompass it is grace. I'm glad you brought it up because that really describes you perfectly. Um, well, tell us a little bit about your business, if you don't mind. I want Latinas and Latinos to learn from you,
Mhm.
in that regard too.
I think I started with a really clear vision in mind. I wanted to create a platform that was about Latino pride, and Latino heritage, and Latino culture. I work with brands that support my causes. Because I get approached a lot during Hispanic Heritage Month, and you can tell when there's not one Hispanic person on a campaign. It's like
Oh
this
my God,
doesn't
you're
feel
so
authentic,
right.
man. What
Yes,
is there one
yeah,
Hispanic person working on
totally.
this? So I think being very picky has helped me a lot. Um, and just staying clear to my vision, not shrink myself or change my vision for anyone, and accepting that not every door is going to open easily, but to not give up and to stay true, like believe in myself and my vision and not change that to
Yeah,
appeal to a brand or to appeal for to viewers for a viral video or anything, to just stay true. And I'm sure you can relate to that as well
yeah,
in your journey.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
staying true.
No, I totally can relate to that. But you do it. I mean, it took me a lot of years to get there, and you're so young, and you do it naturally. It's in you.
Maybe it seems that way, but I feel like I have a lot to learn still.
Well,
And I'm
yes,
sure that I do.
you're young, but you have that gift.
Yeah.
That's a natural gift of yours.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. But I feel like I'm just getting started, and I feel like I have so much to learn and so much to grow still. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still early on in my journey.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You have a lot to grow, but
Mm.
you have grown a lot, and you definitely are a trailblazer, let's put it that way.
Thank you.
So, talking about new beginnings, tell us a little bit. Congratulations on your engagement,
Thank
first
you.
of
Thank you.
all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations. And so, thanks for sharing with us that your fiance is a Mexican person, which is really great. I mean, great in the sense that I'm Mexican, so I love
Yeah.
Mexicans. But I'm being biased. But I think it's also great that you share values, you share ambitions, you have your culture, which is really important. How do you combine, your partner's I don't want to say ambitions, but your partner's plans and yours? Because as you know, of course, you don't have a family yet. So the good news is you have a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
But what would be some advice that you would give Latinas that decide to take this business side, like a business path? And once you tell me that, tell me how much of that was influenced by your culture.
I think I think it's important to find someone that celebrates your success, especially as a Latina woman.
Yeah.
Um, Sadly, there's still a lot of machismo in Latino culture,
Yeah.
and you may even think it was the older generations, but it's not. A lot of the young generations still carry that on. So it's important to find someone that believes in you as an entrepreneur, as a businesswoman, that
Yeah.
believes in your qualities, that will support you and cheer you on. Um, because there's still a lot of that machismo in the culture. So it's important that you are able to if you date someone Hispanic, it's important that you find someone that doesn't have those beliefs and those values.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. I don't know who said, but a very famous person said, the most important decision you'll do and you'll make in your life is who you marry, right?
Yeah.
And I do believe that's true. I think honestly, it's more important than what you study or where you go to school or the job that you take. I think it's who you marry. That's really the most important decision. And so you're right. There's so many things you have to take in account when you do that. I'm going to tell you a number that
Mhm.
that sometimes you're right that there's machismo in our culture, but sometimes it makes me wonder if it's more opposed or something. And let me tell you why.
Hmm.
According
Okay.
to our youth report, uh, a woman, like Latinas in the household, make 84% of all the decision making,
I believe that. Yeah,
compared to non-Latinas, which is 68.
I believe that. And I think that's with the machismo part of it, because they will maybe push the woman's opinion aside while silently
Yeah,
asking
exactly.
her to take on everything in the house, literally
Exactly.
everything in the house. So I believe that 100%.
I agree. It sounded
Yeah.
so familiar, even from
Yeah.
like my family and my grandparents and everything.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, apparently the man is in charge. The truth is, abuelita is deciding everything.
She everything and she
So
does everything in the house. So
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. It
Yeah.
was a joke when we were doing the report because one of the interviewers asked, like, but like, what do you mean, like all the decision making, like even your grandfather's, car, and and the guy that was being interviewed, like, of course, abuelita says if that car is acceptable or not. I mean, like
Hmm.
he had all this, like it was a
Yeah.
young guy that had seen this
Yeah.
process all through his life. Is like, no, abuelita's deciding even like what socks are my grandfather,
Yeah.
he wears in it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have hope that our alleged macho community is actually
Alleged.
learning, and
Alleged.
we are little by little taking over everything, right?
I love that.
But okay, so I want to go back to your passion for history.
Hmm.
And and you and I talked before, and you know, history is one of the things that I feel more gaslighted with.
Hmm.
I went to school in Mexico, so I learned Mexican history
Yeah.
and the way Mexicans see what happened in the United States and in Mexico, right? And then my kids, when they were actually learning history, and I was looking at the erasure
Hmm.
of all these parts of our history, of Latino history in this country, I was really outraged. And that's when I, was more focused on teaching my kids the real, history. And then, of course, logical things as, how can people say that the Wild Wild West was empty and, and British people kind of colonized it when the truth is that most of the states in the West are named in Spanish because when British people came in, they were already empires there, right?
Yeah.
They were global trade routes and there were churches and universities and all these things. That's one of the many, gaslightings, but you love history and tell me, how do you see that? And when did you if you detected and when did you detected that all this history of ours was being erased?
I think my experience was a lot like what you described. Um, I would come home and I learned a lot of my history from my parents as well. Um,
Right.
so I think my experience was exactly what you described. I would come home with my homework or my history books and they would be shocked. This is not what actually happened. This is not
Right.
how the history was written. So I think I learned a lot of it from my parents who
Yeah.
tried to carry on that knowledge to me so that I wouldn't forget it and then it wouldn't be erased in me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you believe them right away? Because sometimes my kids would say, like, Mom, that's your version. I'm like, no, it's not my version. It's a reality.
No, I think I did. My dad especially is a huge history nerd, more so than me. He can tell you history of any part of the world. You point at a map and he'll be like, "Did you know?"
I love that. He would be my best friend.
Yeah.
Make history buff. Yeah.
So I did. I believe them right away for sure.
I love it.
Mhm.
That's one of the reasons why we at the LDC are so committed to facts, because I think that all these facts that we create help us to combat gaslighting.
Mhm.
I wish we started, and we will eventually start a historic part of the LDC, which is
Yeah.
not only the facts today but also the facts from before. Um, I know that there's this. I don't know if you, and I think you actually highlighted it, the story of Mendes versus Westminster.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
that, to think, Fernanda, to think that we learned so much about Brown versus the Board of Education, and Brown versus the Board of Education could have never happened without a Latino making that fight 25 years ago.
Yeah. I
Right.
think they definitely go hand in hand. Brown versus Board of Education, of course, was such a landmark case. Um, and I think Mendez versus Westminster was a smaller case. So I think that also played a part in why it's not taught as much. But just because it's smaller doesn't mean it wasn't as significant. It was very
Yeah.
significant. It was a young Latina mom fighting for her daughter to be able to get a good quality education.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually it was a family. This is the part that is kind of crazy because it was a family with a very dark Puerto Rican mother and a father that was light Mexican
Mhm,
and he was
mhm,
white. And so the kids were kind of all colors, right?
mhm.
And the school was accepting the kids that were light
Yeah,
but
yeah,
rejected the ones that were dark. So it was
yeah,
just a complete racial. So no,
completely.
it is I love that case because then it was used as the legal precedent
Yeah,
for Brown versus the Board of Education. So that's one of the many, and I love that you are so focused on history, that you're digging
mm,
out all these things that are there. They are part of our history, but that people don't really point it out, or they haven't made movies yet about it, and we
yeah,
need movies about that.
yeah.
Um, okay, so tell me, how has your life changed since you became an influencer? And I'm telling you that, for example, like you were maybe more outdoors and now you are like very much indoors, or how do you balance, that change? And like how is your life impacted for this because of this profession?
Hmm. I think my life has done a complete 180.
Ooh.
I think it made me grow up really fast. I was only 21 when I started. Um, yeah, I think it taught me a lot about resilience, about having thick skin in this job, especially when you're inviting so many people's opinions into your life.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it taught me a lot about thick skin. Um, I think it just made me a more resilient person, but at the same time, on a more positive note, I think it gave me purpose because I'm building something that I'm proud of and I'm building something that reflects who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like you're always in the spotlight, so you have to be very aware and conscious about everything because we notice if you like are using a different, lipstick, or it's like you really are under the microscope in so many ways. Would you feel comfortable sharing, for example, if you have detected which is a segment that usually is like a hater? Like, do you like tell me who reacts negatively to what you do?
I can't I can't really name if there's like a population that's exactly who's negative to what I do, but I think the crazy part is that my content is so rarely about me. It's always about something that I'm presenting to you, like a case that's going on, history, current events, a fun fact. And it's interesting when people try to tie it back to me, like negatively. When it's
Yeah.
like, I'm not, this isn't even about me. I'm just talking about whatever is on the green screen behind me.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's interesting that those are mostly the negative comments I get when it wouldn't even be about the story I'm presenting, that it's still somehow about me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you're right that the content
Yeah.
is not about you, but we're following you,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But I mean, like when it comes, if, some people are really mean, and if it comes to like making fun of like my voice, I'm like, what is wrong with my voice? I'm just presenting a
Oh, I think
funny.
you have a beautiful voice.
Thank you. But that's what I mean. Is like people pick like little things about me that aren't even relevant to the information I'm presenting. Or
Yeah.
that maybe if you dislike me, that's fine. But it would be like little comments that I'm like, what do you mean? I like my voice. I don't know.
And it's almost like,
Yeah.
okay, if you don't like me, then why are you watching me? And taking the
Yeah.
time to put a comment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, I mean, like, just like, flip it.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It is kind of
Yeah.
silly how, today I was reading in news that Mark Zuckerberg, announced that he found the cure for loneliness. And so he's actually developing boyfriends, girlfriends, friends, fiancés, husbands of AI
Oh
so that people stop
no.
feeling lonely. And so it's like it's so crazy how this has become personal. Getting back to your comment of people just taking the time to give you a negative,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
you are their friend. You like they feel like they need to tell you that they don't like this because you are part of their lives, and you'll never
yeah,
meet them in person, but
yeah,
it's just
yeah,
that's become the emotional connection that
yes,
some people just
yeah.
have, right?
Very parasocial. Very parasocial. It's really weird. Um, people who people, I feel like no one really knows creators. Like, I'm not even talking about me. I even think of the creators that I like to watch. I'm basing my opinion on them based on a 1 minute video I watched. Like, I don't know who this person is. And yet
Exactly.
you feel like they're a part of your life. It's very parasocial. It's weird. But the whole AI thing, I don't know about all that. I don't know if I could be friends
Yes,
with a
I don't.
AI robot.
That is so
Yeah.
crazy. I
Yeah.
just I and he got a lot of criticism.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
every newspaper that I read that picked up the news said he's crazy. I mean, like we don't understand how he's going to do that, and like of course he feels he discovered, the cure for cancer, but like he discovered the cure for loneliness, which is ridiculous. But that's a thing right now. And based on that, Fernanda, where do you think, whether it's with AI or where do you think we're heading with social media? Like, if I asked you, how would you describe social media in 10 years? What would you say? Like, where do you think we're heading to?
Yeah, I think the AI aspect of it is really scary, and I feel like I can't really give an answer to where all that's gonna play into social media because I'm sure eventually it will play into the social media creator space.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't even like to think about it too much. I think it's just a little scary. Um,
It
but I would
is.
say from a creator perspective, I touched earlier on how people like to say that the market is oversaturated, but I don't really like that phrase. I say that now more than ever, it's a more diverse space for creators. Um, I think anybody can just pick up your camera and film. Like, when I think about maybe like the people I used to watch when I was like in high school or even middle school, it felt like something that was so far away. I could never like afford this expensive camera and film myself. And I think it's becoming such a more attainable dream for people that if you are cool, if you have a cool perspective, if you are interesting, if you are authentic, and if people can feel like they can relate to you, you can take off. And I love that about the creator space.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You are so right. It's like the democratizing
Yeah.
of media, right?
Hmm.
And of course, that also has some dangers in terms of like fake news and
Yeah.
and kind of siloed information, right? That we all are in our own silo and we don't get out of it.
Yeah.
But you're right. I do believe that it's the more democratized things are, the better.
Mhm.
And in this case, it's amazing that I can find you, for example, and I can find other content creators that really satisfy what I'm looking for. It didn't used to, right? It
Mhm.
didn't used to be. First of all, you were not even born, but in my time there were 5 channels, period. Then cable started, and then there were 36 channels. Then premium cable started, and then of course that it developed into
Mhm.
200 different options. And sometimes we couldn't find what we wanted with 200 different options. So now, again, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, we can find it.
Yeah.
And that's a gift. That's
It is.
definitely a gift.
It is a gift. And to anyone who wants to start this journey, somebody will like you. Somebody is gonna think you're cool. There is an audience for you. There really is. Never overthink it too much. There is an audience that will want to follow your journey. Mhm.
I think that's a fantastic message that you can give to the audience, and especially to the young people that want to start this, and not even young. I mean, anybody that wants to
Everybody.
start having a
Yeah.
voice.
Hmm.
You're right. There's an audience for everybody, and as long as you continue and pursue it, and they may not be as famous as you, but they'll get their audience. They'll get their audience definitely. Um. Okay, so now I'm gonna be curious about your tastes. Like, who are your top 3 Latino or Latina idols, and why?
Okay. And the first person I always say is Selena. I love her so much. We could film an entire podcast on how much I love Selena. It's not
Oh my
funny.
God. Oh my God. That's a great, good. We're going to
Yeah.
take notes here for our next one. Okay. Selena's
Just
so important.
anything for Selena. So it's
Anything
gonna be
Selena. I
yeah.
love it.
And I
Yeah,
think
well,
why
I think it's obvious, but tell me in, in few words, why Selena? And I think it's obvious, but I want to know your specific reasons.
I think a big reason why her legacy has carried on for as long as it has, even though she sadly lived such a short life,
Hmm.
is that I saw myself in her. And I think so many people can relate to that. Um, she passed away before I was born, so I was introduced to her with the Jennifer Lopez movie. But watching that and learning her life, I thought, oh my gosh, her family is like mine. And she has dreams like me, and she's part of her culture like me. And we talk about the lack of representation. I think 30 years after her death, there's still such a lack of representation.
Uh,
And I think she was just so authentically Latina. She was just so authentically herself that so many people continue to see themselves in her.
exactly. I
Yeah.
agree with you. Wasn't it? I believe that the series Selena on Netflix was one of their biggest hits
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
Again, crossing over like you do,
Yeah.
right? It was not only for Latinos, it was for everybody.
Yeah. And that's why I
Yeah,
think
her life.
her legacy I think will just continue to grow to more and more generations. One of my friends, I call her my niece, even though she's not my niece, but she is my niece. She's only 7 years old and she loves Selena. And to think that Selena passed away so many years before she was even born.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. That's one Mexican thing, no? De que mi sobrina de cariño,
Yeah.
mi hijo de cariño, like you adopt them.
Yeah.
I have a friend whose daughter calls me tia all the time,
Mhm.
and I'm just like, is she the daughter of your brother? Like, no, 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 she's my sobrina de
She's
cariño.
my niece. It's fine.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so one is Selena. Tell me two more.
Number two, I would say Dolores Huerta. I
Oh,
think from an activism perspective, I mean, she has 40, 50 years of activism under her belt.
more.
And I think that is so incredibly inspiring. She
Yeah.
was really the brains behind that whole operation that she was fighting for in the 70s and the 60s. And I love that about her. I think she's one of my greatest inspirations.
Uh,
Number three, I would say Silvia Rivera. She was a trans activist in the 1970s, and she fought a lot for LGBTQ visibility.
oh, wow.
She was a really difficult life. She
Mhm.
lived a very difficult life, but she always found a way to give back to her community. She always fought for her community. And I find that so inspiring that
Yeah,
even though she didn't have much, she always found a way to give back and to fight.
that's amazing. I didn't know about her. There should be movies and there should
Hmm.
be all kinds of examples of her. That's crazy. That's fantastic. Especially now, right?
Yes.
With that how trans rights
Yes.
are being attacked.
Hmm.
I mean, almost as much as immigrants. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's a lot to
Yeah.
say, right?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
really sad.
definitely.
And I agree. I think her story should be told more. I think
Yeah,
everything she worked for and how loud she was in her fight,
yeah.
um, should be taught more and more people should know about everything she worked for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't want to get too political because, well, first of all, we are a nonprofit, so we shouldn't. But at the same time, it's almost impossible to not touch this subject before we finish, Fernanda, because, I mean, we all are, going right through a lot. Like, I just had lunch with this really good person, very important business leader, Latina, that was saying that she is now traveling with her passport because she actually became an American because of her mother when she was young. And I didn't know this, but when you are the daughter of somebody that is becoming a citizen, they don't give you a naturalization paper. You
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
send I mean, they give you your passport and that's it.
Yeah.
And she was saying, I'm terrified, a big executive, I'm terrified that they're going to stop me. If there's a note or if I have to produce a naturalization paper, I don't have it. And so this is crazy. It's not only undocumented, which of course shouldn't be
Yeah.
suffering this
Yeah.
because they're the backbone of most of the services that we need. But even people that are real, that are real citizens that did things like some people say the right way, whatever. I mean, I am actually also traveling with my passport lately. And so how do you feel? How do you, because I know you're reacting really strongly, and I so thank you, because you're being extremely defensive of, you're being extremely an activist and an empowerer of people that are suffering this. But tell us a little bit about how you feel about this, and what are you doing?
Mm. I mean, there's a lot of emotions. It makes me feel angry. It makes me feel sad. It makes me feel frustrated. It feels like every day there's something else that's going on, something new that's a new policy that's being enacted to attack our community, something crazy that was said from the White House to make us all seem like criminals, innocent people that are being attacked, innocent people that are being arrested or deported, US citizens who are being detained by ICE for speaking Spanish or because of the way they look. So I think it can feel overwhelming and exhausting.
Yeah.
Trying to stay informed and trying to bring attention to everything that's happening. I think I just try to bring attention to it as I can. I think it would also put a lot of pressure. I think if I try to, there's breaking news every 10 seconds, and I think if I try to post the breaking news every 10 seconds,
Yes.
oh my gosh, I don't know what happened to me. But yeah, but I think I try to bring attention to as much as I can. And I know that my audience wants to stay informed, and at the same time, there's a lot going on that isn't making the breaking news, isn't making the major news outlets. So I try to pay attention to even the smaller cases that aren't getting as much attention and post about them so that people can see. And I think just making everyone aware that, hey, this could happen to you. Even if, I think a big part of it is, even if you're not Hispanic, this could happen to you.
Totally. Totally.
It could. Because once the government has the permission to take the rights away from this group of people, they have the permission to take away the rights from everybody.
Exactly.
So I think that that's an important message that people need to understand as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. That, I think, is the way to enroll everybody on defending this cause, even if they're not Latinos, because
Mhm.
this is against all Americans.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Um, it is just, it is unheard of, and it is a crisis. And to your point that you don't have, like, you have to post something every 10,
Mhm.
10 minutes. Um, in the last 5 months, I've spent an overall of maybe
Yeah.
12 days in Washington, D.C., on and
Yeah.
off, right? In
Yeah.
different trips. And I was able to catch up with some friends,
Hmm.
friends that are friends. But the truth is, if I wasn't there, I wouldn't have actually touched base with them. Even though I like them, but they're kind of friends when I go to DC. And so I was able to have lunch with people, and I realize how many horrible things are happening
Yeah.
based on people that are living them, that we outside Washington, D.C. don't hear about. Even though they're my friends, I wouldn't have heard about them if I didn't have lunch with them. And so we don't know outside Washington, D.C. what's happening really. One, because we're not there. Second, because we're busy. And third, because exactly what you said, the news don't have the time to cover everything.
Yeah.
They have to choose the 10 news
Big
of what
stories.
happened, but
Hmm.
there are executive orders that they don't have time to cover or review. There are appointments of horrible people that they don't, I mean, and I shouldn't get political, but there are all these happenings that there are centers of research being closed. We heard now about the FAA, firing people that were vital for the safety of airplanes, landing and taking off. And so just the news don't have the time and the bandwidth to let us know what's happening. And so we don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, one of the most scary parts, that I noticed just being there some days. So anyway, I don't want to end up with the bad news,
Yeah.
because the good news is that we have you, and that we have all the people that are following you, and that we have people like you within our community that have a voice, that are using this voice, hence the title of this podcast, made for people like you that are using your power to educate us, to keep us informed, to suggest, what we can do to help, to bring out on fairness, and to bring out, possibilities of change. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. And to close with a good note, I want, please, if you could share with us a piece of advice you would give to younger listeners, that are waiting out there to hear, what you have to say.
I think of something that you and I touched on at the LDC, which was imposter syndrome. I think that's a big issue that a lot of Latinos deal with. So my piece of advice would be, don't be afraid to take up space. You belong in every single room you walk into.
Oh my goodness, Fernanda, that's fabulous. That's even for me, and I'm not younger than you. Imposter syndrome, you're absolutely right. That's so true. We belong there. We, your parents, have earned those seats already for you. If we can't take them, you should take them.
Exactly.
And so, wow, that's a fabulous way of finishing this, of sharing your wisdom and your grace, by the way, because that advice encompasses both. And the only thing remaining is to tell you thank you, thank you, thank you, Fernanda, for being here, for being who you are, for your grace and authenticity. And we hope that that we repeat this, because you have so much more to tell us. I have the feeling that in the next weeks and next months, things, will continue evolving, hopefully for good, but there will be change, and we are prepared, and especially with voices like you that guide us. And thank you, thank you, thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor to talk to you, Ana. You're amazing.
It is an honor for me. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon, hopefully. Please commit to come back.
Of course. I'm there.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you to the audience.